Yeah. So where to next?
So, all right. So if we think about, we're starting to figure out running the business. We're starting to learn, really how to manage people's goals or help them manage like to their actual goals and where they want to go. We're making enough mistakes, with things, and now we're starting to get too, like our office is too small. Like I feel like, one of the big mistakes that I remember back then was we had a really talented originator that wanted to come in, and it was like we had 3 of them all at once, like apply, and we're like, man, we only have 2 desks.
Yeah.
So we ended up having to choose 2 of them.
I still remember his name, of course.
Yeah,
but like,
right.
Yeah,
sure. And like one of them we got right, one of them we got wrong, and meaning we made a bad hire and we should have hired the other person. The reality is we probably should have hired
should have found a way to.
We should just worked out of our car in the parking lot because we had sales talent we're interested in. In any event, I just think back to that, and like that could have been a good indicator that we needed to get the heck out of that office, and we did. Sure. So we moved kind of almost across the street from where we are now, still doing 99% refi, and growing our business, and we're probably into like year 3-ish towards the end of year 3, and we start to realize like, all right, we're starting to get the hang of, understanding the underwriting and the post-closing, and we start to think about now like big picture, like how do we get out of, what's the next step, right? And like where do you see, like what were the indicators for us? Like how do we know when it was time to pull the ripcord, and take the training wheels off and just go full scale mortgage lender and be the DML that we are today?
Yeah, so I think the beyond the knowledge aspect, really truthfully, part of it was the money aspect, right? It was, we had to save until we knew, like in our industry and in being a correspondent lender, there's an amount of money you need to have basically in your company in order to get the approvals you wanted. We didn't want to push forward too fast where we would either only have part of the knowledge or part of those approvals, It was, okay, we need to save up to like this much. And at that point in time, then we can kind of start making the consideration and kind of doing the litmus test of like, are we really ready for this next challenge?
Yeah.
So kind of start a little bit on the money aspect and savings, financial net worth was probably a big part of that decision.
Yeah.
And then,
absolutely.
And then beyond that was really the kind of just the gut check of, all right, how would we set up and divide? It was another business plan.
Yeah, right.
It was, okay, what else do we need to know? Let's let's try to put focus and learn these other little bit of areas. And then it was, okay, if we're going to do this, how do we do it? And who else do we need? So we started laying out like, okay, well, we need, we need underwriting and closing and some of the other areas post-closing, quality control that we didn't have at all before.
Yeah.
So it was really a methodical and kind of thought out approach. It wasn't overnight. There wasn't something that went bad that was like, throw our hands up, we need to move. It's got to be now.
Yeah.
It was, okay, if we're going to check. We ready to do this? You ready to do this?
Well, we
can do it.
We kind of had the production base now. I think we're up to like 160 or 170 million that could support us doing it. We had saved the money now to meet the minimum net worth. And, I think it was time to push forward. And like one of the crazy things when we did was like, do you remember how hard it was to get an underwriter to believe in DML? It was like the craziest. I mean, it's our first hire. You remember what our first hire was?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Michelle
Closing
Coleman.
queen.
Yeah, that's it. The closing queen. Been with us since day one.
Yeah.
Just absolute rock star. Yeah.
Talk about like how important that hire. Like think about it now. How important that hire is in finding
Michelle.
That's crazy. Yeah. That is That's no joke. Like
Yeah.
that was a massive, massive high.
I remember her first 30 days, man. I would be in her office like every day being like, I promise you there's loans coming, like,
Yeah.
and even really before that, like she believed in us, I guess, and like,
Yeah.
that was a really, that's something I think that we never forget. And when we were doing our state of the company address the other day, it was, coming from a place of deep gratitude because people can work anywhere. There's tons of mortgage companies, but like, it's such a humbling experience to have people believe in, what we're doing and believe in each other. And like, really just makes this place pretty darn special,
Yeah.
People, there's so many anniversaries that we saw, 11, 12, 8, 10,
Yeah.
Tons of 5s and 6s and 7s and I don't know, just a really cool.
It really is. It's something that as we continue to grow, there's the excitement as we add new folks and we grow in geography. That is incredibly exciting. But then you all like on the other side of it, which it's fulfilling. I think it's thinking back to our relationship with Michelle and other folks that have been with us like that all of the moments, all the memories that we've shared together is really fulfilling. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we have gotten, our FHA and VA approvals and,
I think I think you're skipping past like probably one monumental, and it's right there.
Yeah.
One monumental task that if we're going to give ourselves a pat on the back, and it's probably another one of those examples of like, we didn't know what we didn't know, and there was no margin for not succeeding, was we let the company that we worked for previously know ahead of time, hey, we're going to make this move.
Yeah, right.
But we didn't want it to be a long, drawn out process. We were going to give our notice, and at that point in time, we probably had, what do you think, like 20-ish salespeople?
Yeah, at least.
When we made that transition, they needed to be able to do their job.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have the approvals, if we didn't have our state licenses, and we didn't have FHA, and we didn't have VA, they would basically be sitting there not being able to make money for their families. You know?
Right, yeah.
So we worked our tails off to get this done.
Yeah, we're working.
But I think in 30 days, maybe even less, we went from not having any single approval, not a state approval, no bonds,
nothing.
None of the licensing, none of the insurance that we needed, to also all the FHA and VA and USDA and
investor
all the
approvals
logins.
And warehouse lines and everything. And like, I'm going to keep talking because we have like probably like 20 more minutes, Todd. Should we keep rolling with it, or just like, I'm not going to like lose the thing? Like, is that all right? Like, you got a bail or?
No, it's not about bailing. You're getting close.
No, I know. We're going to have to edit this way down, obviously, but like we probably have like 15 more minutes. Is that is that fine?
Yeah, it's fine. I don't want you to go to an hour episode.
No, neither do I. But we probably have like because we just started DML, so
okay.
We're gonna cut a lot of the stuff out that were in there. But there's shit. Is that cool?
Like 15. Just when I get that 5.
Yeah.
Rope in towards.
Okay.
The end.
I figure because we're not live, we can edit the shit out of this thing. Okay, cool. All right, good, perfect, awesome.
Yeah. So getting those approvals in just a few days.
Yeah.
Literally just a few days. If you
couldn't do it now, but like, thank goodness we did it when we did it. But like,
it's not. If you came to me and said, hey, I want to start a company, a correspondent lender.
Yeah.
How long do I need in order from like making the decision I'm going to do it to doors open?
Yeah.
I'd say 6 months.
Yeah, best case scenario.
We did it in 30 days somehow. Seriously, I don't even know. I don't even know how we pulled that off.
Yeah.
But definitely one of the milestone wins. And it was also another example of all hands on deck, which is part of what has made us successful. Is we have these awesome people that are willing to chip in and help in other areas.
When we believe in and we let them do it.
So it certainly wasn't just us, but the mountain that we climbed in that little period of time was something that I still proud of.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So we're into like 2012 now. We're in our first full year as DML, direct mortgage loans. We have everything kind of set up the way that we want. You know, the interesting thing when you're a young company is the other companies that might buy your loans, they probably don't believe in you as much. The rates maybe aren't as well, you know, as good as what they could be. But we're still doing, you know, we're still building our business off of refinance, and we're getting good at it. We're getting more people to come in. Our company's growing. We have marketing pretty fine tuned, and new challenges start to come up. You know, and you know now that all of our chips are in the middle of the table at this point. You know, we have no safety net to fall back on. We have to make this work, right?
Yeah.
There was no other option.
No.
Yeah.
No. There's never been, right? There's never been that safety net.
Sure.
You know. So moving on to kind of the next phase, you mentioned it. It was interesting trying to recruit underwriters.
Yeah, right.
That was one that I remember.
Yeah.
Michelle believed us, and that's in closing. She believed in us, and she came on board. But it was an interesting challenge to get underwriter, because we were 20. What would it have been then? Like 2011. 30.
We'd about 30. I'd
have been like 30.
But the reality is, we were trying to get 2 underwriters to come work at direct mortgage loans when we had closed. I mean, we were recruiting ahead of like basically our doors are open, and you know, like, and they're like, cool. How many loans do you guys close? We're like, we actually haven't even opened yet. Like store's not open yet. We've never closed a single loan, and everybody was like, okay, cool, peace out. Like, thanks for your time. You know.
Yeah. And that was an interesting one. You know, Vince is an example.
Yeah.
Vince Spinoso.
Yeah.
He was probably he was somebody that believed in us maybe more than what he should have. Had tons of underwriting experience at Wells Fargo and some other companies, and back to the quality of life. Remember, like, part of the reason why I remember the conversation with him when he was like, "Guys, I believe in you. Here's what I need.
I need to cut out early on Thursdays because I got to go to my golf league." And
exactly.
we're like,
"You got it.
You are in.
100%. Yeah. It was. You got it, Vinny."
He stayed with us for 5-6 years and was the first person to retire from DML about a little bit over a year ago. Yeah,
that was a really cool moment.
That was for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, the challenge, they were different, right? There was a lot. There was all the approvals. There was recruiting folks that we had never employed. We really had no department built.
Yeah, sure.
We had no. I mean, we had policies and procedures, but really, that's great. But they don't really mean anything until you actually do them, right? You know, like we didn't have a lot of that stuff. So then it moved on to some of the other challenges that you have as a small company, a small correspondent lender, right?
Yeah.
Like we only had so much warehouse space.
Yeah,
There were times where you and I would be making calls. We'd be post-closing loans.
Yeah.
Just in order
begging for more room on our warehouse.
Begging for more room. Begging for the purchase advice so we could get one off and put one on.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And it was different challenges. It was a lot of learning experiences, but then as things started to settle down, we got back into a lot of the understanding how to run this business on a larger scale, understanding what we needed to do to be successful.
Yeah.
You know, even creating some of the additional gear and events.
Start getting our swag and So the other couple of things that I remember, like the big ones there, were we had about a year in to being full-scale mortgage lender, and we're thinking about, all right, directionally, where do we want to go? Because we were still like, you know, red-blooded sales guys that just, you know, that's what we knew. You know, we were starting to figure out the business aspect of it, but like blinders on, same thing. Let's get this thing off the ground, close as many loans as we can, you know, doing it the right way, good products for our clients, good products for our people. And I think we're like, all right, where do we want to go with this? And there's 2 things that stood out. One, we were like 99.9, maybe 99.7% refi at that point, right? And we knew if this was going to be more than essentially a branch, we needed to diversify and get out in front of and you know, the purchase and business development marketing in a big way. And the other one was we loved building the branch that we had built. You know, we went from just, you know, a few of us to, you know, 20 something and, no loans to 160, 170 million in just a few years. And we loved that.
Yeah.
Looking back, we loved doing that. And I think that in that time, those were the two big objectives was let's grow our business through branch and let's bring on other branches and create this big room for people to go do big things. And then also we got to get on the purchase side of things because refis are going to be so market driven. And
yeah. Well, that was the other, on the purchase to refi side, not only could we see the writing in the wall, but the other thing that was tough is our organization grew. And at that, so now we're probably like 2013, 14-ish in there.
Yeah.
And we have probably 70 people working for us.
Yep.
The refinance business is so market generated. We would go from closing, 120 loans in a month down to like 20.
Yeah.
And
certainly when we were a branch. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even a little like this, I think where I'm going with this is as our family grew, as DML, our employees grew, the ups and downs of that really didn't make sense.
Yeah,
there was no stability there to say, we can continue to grow and bring people in if we're just completely susceptible to the market. So that coupled with the other things you mentioned were a lot of we need to convert our business model.
Yeah.
We need to figure out how to do
and
the purchase business.
What we've always done, I think, has been really purposeful about our growth. We haven't rushed into anything and and messed it up. So we thought about as we grow into the purchase side, like we can't just rush out and do this. We're going to have maybe a second chance at this to get it right. Yep. So we took 6 months to do some research, figure out what the marketplace was missing, like what mortgage companies did well, what they did bad, what LOs did well, what LOs did bad, what real estate agents and industry partners were looking for, and then we realized all right, well, a lot of these conversations that we're starting to have, people like, who's DML? Never heard of you, which was fine because, we were all direct to consumer at that point, not a referral base. And I think that we made a pretty cool move where we became the official mortgage company of the Orioles and had a big sign in left field. And that was pretty exciting to go into Oriole Park on opening day that first year and see, this huge, gigantic direct mortgage loan sign in left field. And
so cool.
Yeah, I think that was like 2013, maybe.
And we did all the radio ads initially too.
Ads, yeah.
If you remember that.
And we would
get so many text messages and calls.
You guys are everywhere, right? Yeah. We went from who's DML almost overnight to, you guys are everywhere. I see your sign, I hear your ads, I hear, you guys are everywhere. And everybody knew who we were when we were starting to have those conversations, which was pretty neat. And the reality is nothing had actually changed other than we had a big sign in left field, So it was pretty cool. I mean, that sign didn't compel people I got to do my mortgage loan with direct mortgage loans. It just helped to maybe create warmer conversations where they're, Yep. And then, we think about all right, well, we got that going and that started to do well. And we started kind of growing those by, double and triple digit percentage over time. And I think last year, 6 years later, we were, 95% purchase or something like that, right? So, that all worked. And I'm glad that we did because, there was plenty of companies like us that just, at that point, we're like, well, we're doing really well with refis, whatever rates will be forever. And, we made that tough decision to let's go after it. And we did it.
Yeah. Massive.
Proactive
really,
adapting.
Yeah, exactly. A massive accomplishment for us that really was a big driver to create the company that we are now, right?
Yeah.
If we'd have stayed refi, we'd probably have stayed similar company, similar size and location, everything running out of here.
Sure, our value proposition would have been way different than
as
it is
opposed to what has happened, where we've grown geographically through with some amazing people in areas that we wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, and there's two, Pam Vroman and Jeff Dobes, they were doing really well, making a bunch of money doing refis, and both of them raised their hand and said, hey, I see that this is the direction that, the company needs to go, that I need to go, and I know that this is going to mean sacrifice for me and income and all this stuff, but I got to put that aside and I got to grow with you guys, and raise their hand and were just give me all the opportunity that you can give me. So, they were both really instrumental in that. And Pam's been with us for 8 years. Jeff's been with us for.
Without them, it doesn't happen. Without them, that transition doesn't happen, right?
Agreed.
Because you and I probably weren't going to be, although you did have a pretty big part in getting us to the street, meaning making connections and starting to get some looks from referral partners.
Yeah.
But we don't get there without those two. We don't get there without them
Sure.
being a part of that vehicle and taking that sacrifice.
Sure.
Because they both certainly sacrifice short-term production and
Absolutely.
compensation
Yeah.
in order to make the change.
Yep.
And I think both would look back and say, that was a no-brainer, and
Absolutely.
that was the biggest decision.
And they basically started over and went from zero, and
'Cause
they've
we
grown
off-
their branches and their teams every year since then. which is
We
awesome.
pretty much offered it to everybody as well.
Totally.
In that period of time,
Yeah.
it was raise your hand if you want to try to take on this
Yeah.
this transition with us, and they were the only two that were forward thinking to see what we could do.
Totally, like at least all in, everybody kind of
yeah.
wanted to still dabble
Yep,
over here, which
exactly.
like it really just took that commitment.
Because that's what it needed.
Yeah.
It was the full commitment of
Yeah.
we're full focused, we're going here,
Yeah.
and we're not going to look back.
And so as we go there, the other part, kind of the other prong to the two prong approach was we love building branches. It's what we know. Let's focus on what we know and help other people do the same. And there's this quote that we love that Gary Keller, I think, said it, and he said, we want to create a big enough world that other people can have big worlds in it. And so we thought about that a lot, and we started branching out. Amy Wolf was our first branch, and we feel like we kind of know how to grow a branch. Like we've made enough mistakes in there to know that like I think we can get people from point A to point B a lot faster, because we know that we made a left turn here and it didn't work out. We had to back up and go right, and we kind of like don't go left there. Let's push forward, right? And everybody has different skill sets and stuff, but Amy believing in us was huge. Amy probably closed 18 million that year, first year before she came to us. Closed 36 million the first year she plugged into DML. Closed 50 million the next year and hasn't looked back, and is top individual producer at DML and just is ripping off 50s every single year, and it's just absolute beast. But at the same time is just an amazing person. Her honesty is fantastic, awesome culture, and has built a great team in Frederick that that is something I think we're really proud of, and has been with us
100%.
for 6 years probably at this point. Yeah.
We just had our 5th anniversary.
Yeah, and
not
this
too
is our
long ago.
6th year. Yep. And so those are two big ones. As we think and we go through and grow. What else do you remember about like 2014, 15 as we were?
I think it's about the time. Well, it's in that period of time. I think another there are some milestone learning experiences in our history, right? And one of them has been in hiring, right? Especially in the sales position. And this is might be misplacing kind of, and it's probably an ongoing learning experience. But there was at some point in time a kind of a light bulb moment of, you know what? There was a period where we would, on the sales side, if you had experience and you could close some loans, we would probably bring you in.
Absolutely. If you had a pulse
Yeah.
and an interest, you were getting hired. It's an exciting thing when somebody believes in you, like you overlook you overlook a lot of stuff.
And it might not have been as bad as just a pulse, but it wasn't too much far off.
Yeah.
And what we realized was if we didn't hold an extremely by letting folks in that didn't match the top talent that we had, we were compromising this place for everybody involved.
Yeah, right.
And one of the things that I remember, and I think there was an accomplishment through those years, is light bulb moment, sacrifice. We need to clean house a little bit.
Yeah.
We need to move forward, and any of the folks in the bottom quarter that either in production or person in
Like culture match.
yeah.
We weren't doing them any favors. Yeah,
No.
and it was tough. It was a lot of tough decisions were made, but like we had to put a full focus on culture, and it was like, we're either bought in, we're all in this together, or 1 foot out, 1 foot in doesn't really work anymore for us.
And
People were pulling other people down.
Yeah, exactly. And making that commitment and decisiveness that culture is massively important. Accountability and quality consistency there is massively important, because without those,
Mm-hmm.
this place doesn't feel or fire the way that it should.
Totally.
You know?
Like we
It
lower
just-
the bar once,
exactly.
kind of lower it again. We lower it again for the next person, lower it again for the next person. And ultimately we end up with a place that we don't want to come to work every day.
Yep.
And so, we made that decision that like maybe we won't grow as fast as, some other companies. And that's completely fine because we're
Exactly.
growing with the people that are going to pour it back into us, the same energy we're pouring back into them. And it's going to be a place we love waking up and coming to every day.
That is exactly it.
Yeah.
That was the other part that for me, and I think you as well, that it's just so much more enjoyable.
Yeah.
We're, having the quality of individuals that we have to work with on a daily basis
Totally.
just makes the experience here
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so much better.
Yeah, agreed.
And it really fires you and I up, I think, to continue to push ourselves.
That's why we have people like, Jamie and Jackie and Jeff and Chris and Tam and all the people who have been with us for, 8, 9, 10 years that are still here and all still growing inside of DML.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it really exciting for people that are just joining DML to think about where we're going to go,
Yeah.
And, so if we move along a little bit, we have, we're growing on the purchase side, we're growing on the branch side.
Yep.
We start to think about like, all right, like where do we want to be from a mission, vision, and values standpoint? And, we put a lot of time into that, trying to get that right. And, the story's probably a lot longer, but, we thought we could do it in maybe 20 minutes. And what we realized was like, this isn't a 20-minute project. We realized that we didn't want it to be just like big words on a piece of paper that most people don't even understand. Like we wanted them to be real, non-BS statements that we actually could live by inside of DML and really outside of DML. We put those out, and they first it was kind of like, wow, this is weird. Like we have these things on the wall, and then it kind of became like how we measure all our decisions, and now they're a part of everything that we do every day. And it's been great, and it's guided us through. And then we think about another kind of big move is we started to realize that if we piled a bunch of people up in Maryland, it's going to start getting really confusing and frustrating, and that whole big world strategy doesn't actually work because people are competing for the same industry partners and same clients, and nobody knows who to call, and like it's not great. And so we put a call of action out there to the people that were with us and said, who do you know, and like who should we know, and how do we grow outside of Maryland and create more room? And Amy introduced us to Michelle in Indiana, and that was, I think, like our first branch outside of Maryland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
That
think
would
it
have
was.
been the first one outside of Maryland.
Yeah, and Michelle's now our biggest branch. Had similar kind of successes as Amy, was doing maybe just about 20 million, was stuck on a team, an LO on a team, and had outgrown that and was ready to do her own thing. And we both saw the synergy, and we saw like the potential. And Michelle's now ripping $55 million years. Was
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool to see that growth. Yeah.
And she introduced us to Camille.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And then in turn we go to Alabama.
Yeah.
And then we get introductions into South Carolina and Delaware and
Pennsylvania,
Philadelphia and
yeah.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That has really allowed us to expand our footprint.
Yeah.
You circle back to the time where we had that kind of spark, that growth on the purchase side here in Maryland with Jeff and Pam and Amy and some of the other folks that really kind of put us on the map.
Yeah.
And as you said, like part of what you and I love is helping to coach our branch managers. And part of what we want to do is help them grow. And if there is that oversaturation, if there's not the room, then we really can't help them the way that we want to. So that geographic expansion is incredibly important. I've gotten the question a few times of, are you looking to add more branches right here by me? And the answer is a little bit on both sides, right? It's, we're always looking for great people, and however DML can continue to grow through great people, I want to consider. Yeah. But first and foremost, my focus is, how do I grow with you? Yeah. Right? Like, how do we bring in talent that helps open up your world and make your world bigger, and the opportunities you have even bigger, that you can bring even more amazing people under you.
Absolutely.
So that is your and my focus from the beginning, is how do we help help them grow and grow through them.
Sure.
As opposed to just trying to continue to, well, a little bit of both, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a massive consideration of how we're evaluating opportunity and what we're setting our focus on.
So a lot of wins, a lot of lessons learned,
Yeah.
losses and successes. But as we start to wrap up our first episode here, what's your biggest lesson learned, if you gave it in just a few sentences over the last 12 years?
Man, biggest lesson learned. Mikey hit me with a tough one here at the end, huh? Biggest lesson learned. The
importance of culture.
The importance of culture.
Okay, just do it.
Man, that's a tough one. So there's tough because I know you do too. I pride myself on always learning, trying to get better at every single one of these examples, these wins, these losses. The thing that stands out to me of the last iteration of DML is the appreciation of culture, the appreciation of our people. That is our paramount, number one, most important aspect of what we need to keep going. Very proud of what we have here, the people we have, how much they're committed to kind of making this place bigger than what it even is.
Yeah.
And keeping our culture to be amazing, people love it, is got to be our focus. And as we continue to grow, as we're talking to folks and recruiting, a lot of what we hear is through growth, culture diminishes.
Yeah. We've seen it. We know it.
Yeah,
We
sure.
hear it all the time.
That is your and my responsibility, Mike, as well as everybody else here. But we need to keep a absolute relentless focus every day on culture, because if you let it, kind of like quality, if you let it slip just this much, it continues to erode.
Yeah, sure.
Right. And that isn't what we want of this place.
And we're going to have another big growth year this year.
Sure.
And in all of that, I think we owe it to our people to make sure that stays that way, and it's what people are signing up for,
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So as we look forward, what's the biggest challenge that we're going to have to solve for this year?
The biggest challenge we're going to have to solve for this year. Do you already have this one too?
You could go with finding new ways to connect with consumers earlier.
The biggest, what was it?
Streamlining our process.
Hit me with it
consumer,
again.
Finding.
Ask me the question.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
So as we look forward, 2020, what's the biggest challenge that we have to solve for this year? And directionally, where are we going?
Yeah, so we have quite a few really, really strategic goals and growth opportunities in focus for this year.
Yeah.
That I don't even know that they're challenges. I think that they're just opportunity. It's directed what we're doing to try to get in front of the consumers.
Yeah. Right.
It is what we're doing in efficiency and quality inside of DML for our manufacturing machine to increase customer experience. Right. That's got to be our number one goal on a day-to-day basis. I would say challenge is we're going to have a fantastic year. I think challenge may be don't be complacent. Continue push.
Yeah.
Because this is the cards are stacked in our favor right now. Everybody in this organization, the industry, the market is great right now. DML is, as if you were looking at us as a stock, massive potential. We just need to make the most out of this year. So I would say challenges as things are going really good. Don't let down our guard.
Yeah.
Right.
The only limitations we're gonna.
I think you said something at our meeting recently that probably speaks to that.
Yeah.
If you want to hit us with kind of what some of our focus
So
here
I
is
think
this year.
it's just that the limitations that we the only limitations we're going to have this year are the limitations we put on ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, I think 90% of people in this business are going to be like, wow, our pipeline's big and that's great. And they're going to back off when really now's the time to make hay. So
Sure.
the message I think that you're looking for and the one that we delivered is, you know, this year is
Sure.
don't get happy, stay hungry.
Yep, 100%.
All right, man. Well, that is our first episode. And as we wrap up, I'd just like to say, man, there's nobody else that I want to be on this ride other than you.
My man.
Been an awesome 12 years so far, and I know that we have many, many more awesome years ahead of us. That's a wrap, everybody. Thanks for listening. Hope you tune into the next episode. See you later.